is Tammy Jackson, and I teach physical education. And the reason that the Virtues Project resonated with me was because I was in my 16th year of teaching, and I was feeling a little bit burned out. And learning about the Virtues Project changed my life, not only professionally, but also personally. It allowed me to have better relationship with my students, and it allowed me to look for the positives, where I was at a point where I could only see the negatives. I could only focus on the students that were acting out. I didn't spend the time that I needed to with the students who really wanted to learn. And it allowed me to change the way that I communicated with my students, and it helped me tremendously with my classroom management.
And I'm Nancy Hanlin, and this is my 34th year of teaching in Baltimore County. And one of the things, besides what Tammy just talked about with the Virtues Project and the relationships and how it improves communication skills on a personal level as well as professional, it also is about the climate of our building. And who does not want a more compassionate, peaceful, friendly, kind working environment? And I think one of the things about the Virtues Project is that it gives us the ability to do that. It gives us the ability to make changes in a positive sense. And that's the other piece, besides the interaction with the students, is, you know, from the administration all the way down to the kids, to just create a very peaceful culture in our building. The first thing that we did when we came back to school after we met Dara for a weekend and was introduced to the Virtues Project, Tammy and I got so excited about, we just saw all possibilities for our kids and our faculty and our staff in the building. So we came back and we introduced it to one of our assistant principals and said, you know, this is an awesome program. We think it's going to be great for our kids. And she agreed. And so what we did was start picking out some of our individual students that we thought really needed some special guidance. And we started working with them on an individual basis. And, you know, started talking about the virtues, what are their growth virtues, what are their strength virtues, and we just went from there. And after we worked with a couple of the kids, we saw how successful it was. And then we decided to expand it. I'll let Ms. Jackson speak on that piece.
Along with what Nancy said, we also started to infuse it into our physical education classes, where you're giving a lot of direction for students to move constantly and sit down. They need to stand, they need to get equipment, and sometimes it can be quite chaotic, and especially in the beginning of the year. And I was having some difficulty with the class, and I decided, I know how to do this. I know how to use virtues to guide students, to acknowledge them, and I started to do that, and I was amazed at how well they responded to the direction when I used virtue statements. And even with the students that had difficulty individually, we were giving them an opportunity to use the virtues in their personal life, and in school they would work on responsibility or compassion or whatever was their growth virtue, and they would come back to us and say, I had a situation with my mom and I really worked on my patience and we didn't get into a fight like we typically got into. And so they started to see some success on their own. And so then another student would say, well, what are you talking about? I want to know what you're talking about. And then they would kind of move into the conversation, and we spread the knowledge of the virtues individually and also through modeling it as teachers into our classes.
And I was like, I don't know, I'm just gonna go to check it out. So then when I got there, like, a lot of people were there, so I liked it. I mean, like, I was in no group. It was like my first group I've been in the school. So like, I met new people, and like, you know, like when you come to school, you just think of school, like schoolwork and teachers, but you actually like see how teachers feel also. It's not only about students and stuff. So yeah, I like it.
I got into the Virtues Committee through Ms. Jackson, because she nominated me after I volunteered to help with the SSA and doing things around school. And then I went to Miss Bradley, and she gave me the paper forms and told me what they would be about and what we would be doing. And I thought that it would be a a good decision to make, and that, you know, we'd end up making like a pretty good difference for the school. And I think we ended up doing that because we got to talk with the principal about some issues. So I think this committee is really helping for the students and the school in general.
Okay, what's excited you about it?
I like the fact that we could openly discuss things about like feelings and the way we feel about certain situations in school, home situations. We could talk about that in an environment where we weren't judged. We were talking about it with our peers, people who are on our level and who can relate to us, and people like the teachers who might not have been through things like us, but they can learn from our experiences just like we can learn from their experiences.
So what are some of the things the Virtues Committee has done in the school?
One of the things that we've done is we've picked a virtue for each month. And so what we've done is spread that around the school with the different signs, and the tickers that we have, electronic tickers, have the statements for each one of the virtues. And teachers they look at students in their classroom or in the building, and they nominate or send a form in that says that this student resembled, if dignity was the virtue for that month, then I would write how she possessed dignity, so she would be acknowledged. And we did that consistently through the months, and what started to happen was not only teachers nominating students, but students were nominating teachers. And it was something that took its own direction. We didn't direct the students to do that, but they wanted to acknowledge their teachers that possess that virtue of the month as well. We also, for the month of December, had a canned food drive, and the Virtues group went into the homerooms and talked about, you know, how can we get compassion, how can we use also gratitude and generosity, and we went over the number of cans that we set as our goal by being able to spread the different virtues through that way.
How has it been accepted by all the other teachers in the building?
Well, one of the things, when we did our first presentation at the first faculty meeting at the beginning of the year, our principal said that it would be optional for everybody to participate. And it was amazing because all of a sudden we had a voluntary meeting and we had well over 50 teachers come after school, like within the first 2 weeks of school, to find out information about it. And it kind of has grown from there. Some teachers have incorporated it into their lessons every single day and whatever they're teaching, because it's easy to put into every curriculum. I mean, it's just a fact. Virtues are inside all of us. So no matter what we're learning that day, whether it be about a character in a novel or something in science class, we can always talk about virtues and how it relates. And the teachers have got on board with that. Some of them have done, you know, really exorbitant lessons on it, and others of us have just used it for personal gain. And, you know, I need to practice my own patience today when I'm teaching this class, or I need to, you know, practice self-discipline or whatever. So it's kind of just filtered out throughout the building.
One of the other things that the Virtues Committee was able to do was create a survey, and they came up with questions for the students and the teachers of if we're going to take a look and examine the culture of our school and the climate, and what do we do really well and what do we need work on, so our strengths and our growths. And they sent out the surveys, the students took the survey, the teachers took the survey online, and they got the information back, and they were able to see where we were and where we were heading and where we needed to go. And I think they did an exceptional job with that.